Hello everyone, it's Monday the 6th of July 2020 and this is episode 79 of the Meet the Farmers podcast with me, your host Ben Eagle. It's been brilliant to see so many new listeners join us over the past few weeks, especially as there seem to have been about 100 new farming podcasts come on the podcast scene during those weeks. Please do continue to spread the word about Meet the Farmers and tell your friends and family about it. I'd really appreciate that. Don't forget you can subscribe to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever else it is that you listen. That way you'll never miss another episode. We're focusing on young farmers again this week in our main feature with an interview with Ernie Richards. First though, let's take a look at some news stories from the past week. In the news this week, Harvest 2020 is underway, with barley crops starting to be combined across the south of England. Winter barley area is down due to the wet winter, but the spring barley area is absolutely huge, so the barley crop overall will be about 8 million tonnes, which compares similarly with last year. The price is about £128 per tonne at the moment for feed barley, with yields varying massively. The government has announced a commission to look at the policies that the UK should adopt in future free trade agreements. The NFU has lobbied the government hard, with a little help from Jamie Oliver and others, to ensure farmers don't face unfair competition from abroad regarding food standards. We'll wait and see what the results of that commission will be. In the dairy sector, another consultation is taking place about how supply contracts between farmers and processors are regulated. There's been frustration that the voluntary code of practice, launched in 2012, has not been wholly committed to by all processors. New rules could mean an end to the buyer's discretion clause in contracts, allowing processors to change prices without a notice period or without negotiation. It's hoped that reform could put more power in farmers' pockets and rebalance the relationship between producers and processors. And that is the news for now. It's now time for our feature of the day, and last week I spoke to the chair of Herefordshire Young Farmers, sheep farmer Ernie Richards. Young Farmers has been completely transformed by the lockdown, with hundreds of events no longer happening, and YFC looking for new ways to connect young people in the countryside.
Meet the young farmer. Meet the young farmer.
Tonight, I am speaking to first-generation farmer and county chairman of Herefordshire Young Farmers, Ernie Richards. Ernie is currently living in Powys, across the border in Wales, and working as a shepherd on an upland farm there. Ernie, thanks so much for coming on the show. This is really great. How are you doing?
Yeah, no worries, Ben. It's nice to speak to you.
So I gave you a very brief introduction there, but I wonder if you can start by just introducing yourself.
So I'm Ernie, but that's my middle name. So my first name's Thomas, but Ernie sort of suits my character, I think, and a bit of a farmer nature about me. But so I'm at the moment I'm a sheep farmer, working on an upland farm in Powys, so just over the border really from Herefordshire. So I'm a Herefordshire young farmer, born and bred, and then so moved over the border to work on the sheep farm where I am currently, and we run 1,000 pedigree clean ewes on a quite a tight closed flock system. We focus on our high health status, so we're MV accredited, and we try and use vaccinations to keep our health statuses, so we do enzo and toxi abortions and foot vax and things, and at the moment, where the sheep market is, the MV accredited is something which people are, is quite desirable for people. Yeah. So it's quite a good market to aim for. But yeah, I'm 27, so just on the edge of young farmers' age now. Obviously, with the coronavirus, I've actually got one more year. Yeah. So, so I'm county chairman at the moment. So it's been quite a hectic year, and since lockdown has come on force, my life has sort of gone very quiet, which it's been quite
Yeah, I was
strange,
going to say
really.
things are very, very different. I know. Yeah, we'll definitely get onto that later. But yeah,
Yeah.
can we start just by talking about your current job? I mean, how did you get the job?
Word of mouth, really, and through a friend. So a family-run farm then. So my boss and his wife, I managed the farm, but his two sons wasn't interested in the farming. So Stuart was wanting at the time to find somebody, and he had an apprentice here that was a college, and she was about to go to university. So and I was friends with her, and she happened to say that she knew Stuart. Stuart felt that he was getting to a point where he was either going to cut back quite a bit or wanting to take somebody on and push the flock forward. So as he puts it, I came across one night and I impressed his wife, and I got the job. 2016 I started. I came for like a trial few days, and they offered me the job, and then luckily me and my girlfriend went traveling to New Zealand in that autumn over
Nice.
Christmas, and I started probably in February 2016 then. So no, it was I've been here quite a while, and it's all good fun, really.
Yeah, and tell me about the local area, local community. How's all that? Have you settled in well?
Yeah, luckily, so young farmers is such a brilliant thing to be part of, and locally, it's got a very good young farmer connection, and it's sort of the same area my girlfriend sort of was her home anyway. So I'm only 45 minutes from mum and dad's, so where they live,
Okay.
but within sort of my young farmer friends anyway. So I sort of got into the young farmer connection group here quite quickly. You sort of got, start going to all the socials and things, and start going to the local do's and stuff. So no, it's been good to settle into the area. Know all the neighbours, and you meet them on the road, you wave into them, you don't, and they ask who you are, and stuff like that. But no, it's been really fun, and the local area around. So where we are, we're near Hay and Wye, which is the town of Bucks, so where the hay festival normally is. And it's such a picturesque area to live in. And the farm that I'm on, we are 1,000 foot of the yard and got to 1,200. And we have literally a picturesque landscape across you can see the Black Mountains, all of Hay and Wye, Penavan and the beacons, and it's quite a picture, really.
Tell me how your interest in farming developed. I know that your mum grew up on a farm, your dad worked on a farm for about 20 plus years or so, and your grandparents farm sheep?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So my mum's parents have a small holding, just with sheep, and they're still farming. They're in their 80s now. So, and I was always, every school holidays and weekends and things, I was always there helping them do things. And I used to go with them off at weekends to farm sales, and I just loved the country life and the farming lifestyle. Even though I was brought up in a small village, so you're in a very rural area, there was never that feeling of when you wake up in the morning, you go straight outside and be with the livestock, and that's something which I always loved.
Yeah.
You go there at lambing time and you help and do bits and pieces, and no, it was so much fun, and that is probably where my main spark came from. And then I went on and went to work for different farms then locally, and just to gain more experience. I always knew that farming was something I wanted to go into. Didn't know what exactly, but there was always that interest and passion for sheep really there.
So. Yeah. And you went to agricultural college near Hereford, and then you also did a degree in agriculture with animal science at Aber. Tell me about that.
No, oh, good. I definitely enjoyed the social life and did a bit of studying too. But what I enjoyed about Aberystwyth, it's an excellent university to meet so many people from all walks of life.
Yeah.
And agriculture and the IBERS for all sciences is so good, and what they do is amazing. The research and things, and it was great to be part of that university really. And I learned a lot there academically and life skills as well. It was a brilliant thing for a country boy to go to a small seaside town in Wales, but it was, you just learn so much about this life, really.
Yeah.
And it was fun. Yes, I did agriculture with animal science there for 4 years, and got stuck in. Did lots of things, and we formed a agriculture society there. Made that
Ah,
a
cool.
proper society so everyone could join up, and it was fun. It was some very good times, and some I can remember, some I can't.
Maybe some of the better times you can't.
Yeah.
When you were there, you did a placement year, and you spent time up in Cumbria and also in Canada.
Yeah, so I was very lucky that I managed to work on a farm near Kendal in Cumbria, a sheep, beef and poultry farm, and a massive enterprise, really. And it was great to gain that experience. I was very lucky also that I moved away from home, and even though I was away from home at uni, it definitely made me grow up in some way and look after myself. And it was nice to, move to a different part of the country and work for such a great farm. And I learned so many, working, they're laying hens. So I definitely learned from the different enterprises they had and the scale. So it was great for that aspect. And it was just brilliant too. There was a good team of lads I worked with, and it was great to have a good work friendship with them as well. So I made friends up there and things. So it was nice. Yeah. And then, I had an opportunity to go to Canada, which was brilliant. And that was on a sheep farm also. So it was Ontario in Canada. And I was out there for a short while, and it just ended their lambing, and I managed to stay there for about a month, 6 weeks. I got a little time slot over there, and I went traveling to like Niagara Falls and things. So it was brilliant to see parts of the world and see how other countries operate on a sheep enterprise. The family was actually from England originally, so it was brilliant. They had a couple of thousand ewes and Texels and crosses, and so that was so interesting as well. And the lifestyle out there is just so relaxed as well.
Okay.
They weren't worried about, they were starting to do some haymaking, and they weren't worried if it was going to rain. Yeah, it'll be fine, or let's see whatever happens. And no, it was very good. And once again, it was the experience. So, but I think whatever you do, how old you are, doesn't matter. But getting experience and learning new skills is very important.
Yeah, big time. I mean, what were some of the main things that you think you took away from that time?
Traveling on my own was quite a big thing. That was probably quite a big life skill, I suppose, and learning to do that. And over in Canada, the scale of operation, they lambing a couple of thousand ewes outside. I'd never worked on an extensive outdoor lambing system before. So that was very interesting. And a couple of things I brought back here now as the farm I work on. Even though we lamb indoors, there's a couple of things you sort of learned from when I was out there. And just different pieces, really, that they had very good grassland management and things like that. So how they managed a lot of paddock grazing for the sheep. And one thing he taught me, the chap I was out there with, he said he rented a lot of ground, and he said for a young person going into the industry, especially for sheep farming, you can get ground very easy, but one thing is hard is to have you want to be good to your landlords, and as a tenant, you want to make sure that you look after their ground as much as possible, and they'll look after you. And different things, like he'd be moving sheep, and he'd make sure he put electro nets up beside the gardens along people's drives, just to make sure the sheep wouldn't, walk on them and stuff. And
do what sheep do best.
Yeah, as well.
Apart from die, I suppose.
And that was quite a thing, actually. But no, it was brilliant. That was.
Yeah. So what about when you graduated? Did you have a plan for what you wanted to do? Did you sort of think, oh, we'll take it as it comes?
Not well. So when I finished Canada, I came back and I had a harvest job back here in the UK, and near Hay and Wye. So it was all through. I think that was the point where I sort of realised I was going to be around this area. I was with some good friends of mine working on it for a summer. When then I went back to the uni my following year, and then I graduated, and then I went back to this farm for a following summer then. And then that's when I found my job that I am now. So it sort of went on from there, but I don't know, my girlfriend Anna, she wanted to go traveling to New Zealand. and was like, right, we've got to go. Let's go now. When I finished uni and everything, we hadn't got a job. I hadn't got a job to all go to. Then this all came up, and Stuart, my boss, was like, well, you can have the job as long as you come back for the 1st of February for lambing next year. And I was like, right, fine. So it was brilliant to have that opportunity. So it all fell into place, when I got a dog, and it worked really well, really.
What's the best thing about your current job?
I think farming in general, even though I'm a shepherd, I'm a sheep farmer, but I put fences up, you do a bit of building work on the farm, and you're maintaining the landscape. And I think just being a farmer in general is brilliant. But obviously looking after the livestock is something which I am very passionate about. You have your ups and downs of things, and things don't always go right, but you sort of there's always another day, isn't there? With livestock, you can see them grow, and you have ewes and lambs, and especially when things are going very well, you're very pleased. You see lambs at this time of year, they're growing really well. There's a bit of grass, and they jumping up and down. That is the feeling that I go for, really, and that's probably the highlights of the job. Seeing things growing, and then obviously you're selling them forward for lamb or for other farmers, and it's nice to be proud of the livestock that you're producing. That's what I enjoy.
There are lots of ways of entering the industry, aren't there? But what advice would you give a young person looking to get a foot up on the farming ladder?
Even though I was from a farming background to some point, I was always wanting to work for other people and gain as much experience as possible. So I think as somebody that's coming into farming, I feel there's lots of farmers out there that want to help you and are always willing, even if it's just a few hours a day, or even if it was a bit of lambing work, there's always people that are willing to help. So I think by working as many farms as possible, gaining as many skills as possible, and whilst I was at college, I did a lot of certificates, my ATV and telehandler, and the medicines, animal medicines and things like that. And I think everything to advance your skill set is what I think can get you further up and to improve. And also I'm quite involved with the NSA, so the National Sheep Association. And I was lucky enough to be a young ambassador for them. And it's just to get involved with things like them to help you find out new bits of information. So there was a group of us, and some of them were young farmers that come into the industry, and how they found land was very interesting. I think joining different groups and talking to people, you can learn so much.
Let's talk a bit about the flock itself. Do you enjoy working with Clins?
Yeah, so Clins are a very prolific breed, they're a very maternal breed, and also very good at, they're very good at looking after themselves. Yes, there is lots of things to do. Them sheep do what they do best, and they do die. But with Clins, so we run 1,000 pedigree Clins, and we're very much an upland farm, and they suit our farm very well. Our high points are quite exposed, and our lower parts of the farm are quite wet. So we've got a mixed landscape really across the farm, and the sheep do well on it. The Clins are very good at producing 2 good lambs to reach up to 40 kilos, and off grass as well. So they've got a very good potential, and they're excellent for crossing. A lot of people cross them onto Texels and Charolais. And with us, what we find is one thing that Stuart always tried to do is keep our system as simple as possible, and Clins offer that extremely well. So we keep a pure bred system, and we put registered rams onto our registered ewes, and it seems to work. And we can offer replacements annually to people, or for people to start their own flocks up. But they are a very all-round good breed of sheep, in my opinion. And especially this year, which is quite nice to see from the sheep industry, really, there's a lot of people using them as recipients for embryo transfer. So a lot of people are buying them so they can put embryos in for other breeds. So it's quite nice that people are investing in the sheep industry that way. So it's quite nice to be part of that journey for people as well.
It's a really interesting time to be at the sort of beginning stages of a farming career, simply because we've got massive policy change on its way. how sustainable do you think your current model is in the business, and how do you think you might change it as policy changes over the next 10 years, say?
So with our system, we try and keep costs as low as possible. And obviously with sheep, we've only got sheep, so eggs all in one basket. So how we've tried to specialize is by having a high health status and are MB accredited. So that's our specialism for the sheep enterprise. At the moment, obviously with coronavirus and Brexit all thrown into the mix, we don't know where prices are going to be in the near future. So I suppose, and obviously tied in with that also, there's the reduction in basic payments as well. So there's so many factors to consider. But I think the one thing that we've talked about is obviously how we can move. We want to move the business forward and producing as much as we can from our ewes. But also we've got to think about where our costs are and perhaps where we need to tighten our belts in the near future. Or we feed in too much, or do we do certain things that could be reduced? So there's always things you can improve upon your business. It's just analysing it as often as you possibly can. And but leading on from that, this and what is quite nice from my point of view is my boss Stuart and his wife Helen. It's very fortunate they're giving me the opportunity to progress running the farm as well. So the aim is for me to take a more of a running side of the business and to take a step back gradually, which is brilliant because it'll give me that enthusiasm to push the business forward. And very often I'm questioning why he's doing certain things, and he comes back at me and go, well, that we've tried it, but I'm saying, well, why didn't it work? And it's good because he wants me to go on to focus on the business side of things as well. So how we can progress the flock and the farm business going forward. Because I think there is a lot of opportunity there. It's finding it, looking for it. If it's maybe to going into the tourism, if it's going into some other form of thing in the near future. But I think focusing on what we do best, and for the area we're in, is producing lamb off quality grass. I think is the best thing to do.
You mentioned coronavirus a bit earlier. How has the lockdown impacted on the business side of things? First of all, let's turn to that.
Truthfully, we haven't really been affected much in some way. We've had people come into the farm to buy sheep, which obviously that's been very strange to see actual people coming onto the farm. But obviously social distancing has been enforced and things like that. But it's otherwise, it hasn't really impacted on a huge amount on the day-to-day farming business or how we manage things. Yeah, we can't get everything we need, or we've got to do certain things to get what we need to, but it hasn't really impacted much at all. We're quite fortunate in that aspect, and at the moment the lamb prices are still very good, so it hasn't affected it in that way. And like some other sectors, it's become quite likely, really.
What about you personally?
Personally, well, I've actually sat at home with my girlfriend on evenings now, which has been brilliant, really, because beforehand, being county chairman is very busy, but you don't spend a lot of time at home, and I think that's been the biggest shock to the system, really. Yeah, I've mowed the grass twice in 1 week as well, some days, 1 week. So that's what life has been like, really, for lockdown. But what we keep on saying between us is we're very lucky that we've got the open space, and what it's done is made us appreciate where we live so much. And we're very lucky, even though it's a very rural area and can be a pain sometimes, we are very lucky where we live, really.
Let's turn to YFC. How long have you been a member of Young Farmers? And what are some of your early memories?
I actually joined quite late on, really. I joined when I was 16, and truthfully, I really enjoyed to go to the barn dances and to socialise. And mainly once I left school, you leave school and you turn to a different person. But there's so much more to Young Farmers that people just don't realise, and that is what dawned on me straight away. I don't mind going on a stage and acting the fool and doing bits and things like that. So I was always, go on, Ernie will do it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, don't mind doing anything. And that's where I was, on the stage, dressing up or doing things like that, or cooking, and that is the one thing, you're 16, you're drawn into doing, and that is early memories of doing things, boys' cookery at the Young Farmers Rally and getting on the stage and wearing a dress to dance. These things, you just take in your stride and just do it, and then what Young Farmers does do, it gives you responsibility, and I think from a young age as well. So Young Farmers obviously goes from 10 to 26, and I was club chairman when I came back after we went travelling. So I was 21 or 2, so I was fairly a good age to do club chairman. And I soon realised that Young Farmers there was a lot more still to come.
Yeah.
So then I went on to do more things at the county level, and then someone said, "You'd like to be county chairman?" And I said, "Well, I never like saying no. That's the problem, Ben."
It's something strange that I'm actually learning as I get to know more of the agri committee. It's something that you're all very bad at saying no.
Oh yeah, it's how I look at it. You always regret things you don't do, don't you? And if something doesn't go well, you look at it and think, well, I can do that better next time. It's been unfortunate this year, obviously, being county chairman and coronavirus, but what it has done is made me realise, made me appreciate what I did in my year. So, prior to everything stopping, and I'm just so pleased that I'm honoured really to take on the role, and everyone enjoyed themselves before everything got stopped. Really.
Yeah, I mean, it's still too early to tell in many ways. We're now sort of going into July. In England, at least, we've got the magical July the 4th date where everything seems to be transforming, and we'll see what the impact of that is. But is there anything on the horizon for Young Farmers in terms of change? It's difficult, isn't it?
At the moment, I think it's very much the same, because Young Farmers is such a sociable thing, really. And obviously, with social distancing, it'd be tricky to have events and socials and things. So at the moment, it's pretty much on hold for things. And my year will be finishing in September. So it's looking doubtful that we'll have something before then. But my girlfriend's adamant that we're going to have a party at some point. So if it's next, we'll be doing something.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
No, it's been a shame for everybody. And for the Young Farmers, we've had to put on lots of virtual competitions and virtual things to keep everybody entertained. And even though they haven't been the same, it's been nice to do something during the lockdown, because it's quite tough on people that perhaps haven't seen many people or haven't been doing a lot of things. So it's just try to keep everybody engaged and motivated, isn't it?
Hopes for the future. Where do you hope to be in a few years' time? Because it sounds like you're pretty committed to where you are and the business where you are and your local area.
Yeah, no, I really do enjoy living where I do, and I do enjoy where I work and the farm, and I'm very fortunate that I live on site with my girlfriend, so we're very much settled to the area and to the farm, and so progression, obviously, with the farm is something which is going to happen now. So hopefully, Stuart's thinking about taking a step back, and I'm going to come forward and take on more responsibility. So all the time I'm thinking about what I can do and what I can improve. And there is so many opportunities. You just got to look out for them. And I think that is probably something I'm trying to aim for all the time, really. And there's always something going on that I like to get involved with. But no, it's just trying to move the business forward, trying to move our flock forward, and just try to improve everything to its maximum, really.
Ernie, thank you so much for coming on the show. I think we'll probably leave it there. But
no worries, Ben.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Meet the young farmer. Meet the young farmer.
Sheep farmer Ernie Richards there out on the Welsh borders. That's all we have time for this week, but I hope you can join me next time when I'll be speaking to Somerset-based arable and pig farmer Fred Price. Until then, don't forget you can follow the podcast on Twitter or Instagram at MTF Podcast. You can also check us out on YouTube, where there are lots of full-length interviews, including the one with Ernie. Big thanks to my guest today, Ernie Richards, to you for listening, and to the show supporters, the Mercer Family Charitable Foundation. I'll see you next week.